Thank you very much, Bruce. It's strange being here on Zoom instead of having you all in front of us, but I hope you're managing so far. So let's begin with the fund. One of the key responsibilities of the burial ground is to ensure that there is provision for the future. As Bruce said, land is finite, and when the plots are sold, that income will come to an end, which means putting aside a reserve. We call that our capital fund. And since Sunrising opened, we've been looking to build that fund, that safety for the future. There are three sources of income for the fund. And the first is commission from the company. That's the natural burial company. And this is a percentage of the sales of burial plots. The second is fundraising. That includes your subscriptions to become friends, your donations, legacies, fundraising events, and sales from products like honey, cards, and key rings and lapel pins and all the other wonderful little bits and pieces that we have. And the third is those administrative extras, which are a bit of a gift, including gift aid and interest from investment. So let's have a look at that fund in detail. First of all, I'm going to see if I can, yes, get the laser pointer. I've got it, here it is. Okay, Watermint and that beautiful painted lady, just where I was trying to find the pointer. So here's the fund total. As you can see, going all the way up over the years from where we first began the burial ground at reserve. Right, so this was the total to the nearest £1,000 at the end of our financial year, at the end of August. So despite the problems of 2020, or perhaps in part because of them, the fund has done well this year. I'll explain how and why in a moment, but let's look first and just acknowledge that curve. It's a good steep curve and it's getting steeper. That reflects the growing community of Sunrising. More burials, so more commission, more families, so more friends, and also more interested in the nature reserve and the increasing value of the nature reserve. At last year's AGM, we were looking at 78,000 and we were looking hopefully that we might break the £100,000 mark. And as you can see, we did. This is my cue for the silly picture. Here we go. Thank you very much. And so let's just have a quick look at how that fund is broken down. The commission then is in blue. You can see it's the base, the foundation of the fund in many ways. When we set up in 2006, down here, we put aside some money from each plot sold, but we didn't begin the friends, we didn't constitute the friends until 2009. So that first figure is a backdating back to 2006. And you can see a gentle rise over our first years. The major difference here is that in 2016-2017, we had repaid our initial loans, we had bought the freehold of the land, and we had also bought out our former partner, Mark. So David and I were able to rejig how the funding worked, and we increased the percentage going to the friends from 2% to 10%. You can see then with a bit of back payment, it jumped. And then it's steadily been rising. In green above that is the fundraising. That's your subscriptions and donations. It's events, projects, sales, and everything else that basically is your wonderful generosity and support. On top of that is yellow. And the yellow is the administrative extras, gift aid. You can see there's no gift aid here. That's because in 2018-19 we claimed for 2 years, and we've got more here. That's gift aid and interest when we have this new element, which is interest on our first investment bond. Let's then have a look at subscriptions. And a thank you to Craig for that beautiful photograph of blackthorn blossom in March or April. Subscriptions. We've now almost 1,200 people laid to rest at Sunrising. So to have 277 friends, subscribing friends, is a really good percentage. You'll see here that at the base, we have a steady figure of those who are becoming new friends, and a wonderful positive number here of friends who resubscribe each year. The yellow is the folk who slipped away for one reason or another and then came back, perhaps inspired by some event or project that we've been doing, or just a reminder, because these things slip out of our minds in busy lives. So thank you. 277 of you. Excellent. The Friends donations and subscriptions. The trustees this year had discussed whether it might be feasible to raise the annual subscription from £10, but our decision was not to do so. This is partly because of the economic climate and increasing economic problems, unemployment and so on, but also because those of you who think that £10 a year is still very low do tend to generously add more, and in that way it feels fair. So at the bottom you've got, this is our subscriptions, £10 a year, and on top of that, the yellow on top of the orange is the donations that were given at the same time as subscriptions. In other words, the extra that you've added on. Thank you so much, that's just brilliant. As the charity becomes more established, and now that we are a registered charity, we feel that people could well be feeling more comfortable about including Sunrising in their will. Why? There are reasons why we would do so. If a loved one is laid to rest here, then what better gift than to help secure their final resting place? If you yourself intend to be laid to rest here, then including a bequest to the friends in your will is about your own future. Yet your children, your grandchildren will also benefit, and all those who will come to visit you in decades to come. But also, and perhaps most importantly, a legacy goes towards keeping this increasingly valuable nature reserve a place that continues to be important ecologically, a real haven, long-term, for wildlife. And with that in mind, we've been putting together a leaflet to let people know how to leave a legacy to Sunrising. If you would like information or a copy of the leaflet when it's published, please do let me know. It will cost a couple of £100 to get it printed, but we feel hopeful that it will be a worthwhile spend, and that it will more than earn its way.